Jaw droppers, yeah!
Hi, I'm Larry Anderson, and welcome to Out of Thin Air. The videotape that you're about to view is a very special collection of magic tricks that I've compiled that are really killer little miracles that you can perform anywhere, anytime. It's really out of thin air means that it's impromptu, spur-of-the-moment type tricks. When someone says, hey, you know how to do magic tricks, show me something. You don't have to be set up. You don't have to be ready. You can use dollar bills, coins, handkerchiefs, spoons, rubber bands. There's all kinds of great tricks here with ordinary objects that you find in everyday life. There's all kinds of great things here. I hope you enjoy watching. Just a word about the format of this tape before you dive in. Some of the tricks on the tape are designed to be done seated at a table, and some are designed to be done standing up, and some of them are just great gags that you can perform anywhere and really get a lot of mileage out of. Now, the way that the tape is laid out is that you will see me perform each and every one of the tricks before a live audience, so you can really get a feel for how the trick is to be presented. And then immediately following that is the full explanation with all the mechanics and all the nuances of how to pull it off. And I want you to go back and forth between the two until you really get a whole feel for not only the secret part, but the way it should look when they're watching it, and how to keep those separate, okay? And then finally, use my presentation as a model, but slowly as you're starting to get it, add your own personality, your own touches to it, because it really should come from you and not just be a carbon copy of me. And also, make sure that you practice each one of these tricks before you perform them. I mean, really, anything you do, no matter how simple, the first time you do it, you might fluff up. There's a learning process, kind of a curve, you know, a bell curve. The first time you do it, maybe not so good. Second time, hey, I figured it out. Now I know how to fix that. And the third time, you're flying, and you'll really start getting some results. So don't sell these tricks short, okay? Give them a chance to, sort of develop as you go along. And also, practice in front of a mirror. It can help you when those critical angles are there. Some of the tricks have angles that are kind of crucial. I help you and tell you which ones those are, and I want you to check yourself out in the mirror so you know what the audience is seeing. Also, there's a magician's rule. Don't repeat the trick. There's a reason for that. They know the surprise. Once they know the surprise ending, you're leading them down the wrong path, and boom, there's a surprise. If you do it again, they know what to watch for, and you're busted. And also, there's a lot of tricks on this tape. As you watch it, don't get overwhelmed and say, oh, how am I going to absorb all that information and put the tape away? No, watch it from beginning to end and enjoy the tricks, and then pick out a couple that you like and learn those really well. All right, once you got two of them, then you can go on and pick up another one. I mean, they'll still be on this tape for years to come. All right, just learn a couple well. Some of the tricks on the surface, when you start to watch the explanation, you'll say, oh, that's complicated. Believe me, it's not complicated. I'm just explaining it in great detail so you really get it. Don't think they're too complicated, and then also get overwhelmed and put them aside. Try out each one, okay? And finally, don't reveal the secret. It's tempting. People are going to say, tell me how you did it. But don't, because people really don't want to know. They like to be astonished and amazed. So keep the secret to yourself and keep your audience entertained. So go out and have a lot of fun with these, and I hope you enjoy this Jaw Droppers videotape. Well, what I'm about to show you may seem a little odd because it's not a trick. And that may seem weird to start out not showing a trick in a tape about tricks. But what I will show you is the most important single thing you'll learn on this piece of tape, or on this videotape rather, and that is the basis for many great tricks. It's the fundamental secret to many tricks. It's not a trick in and of itself, although some people mistakenly might present it as a trick. You'll see when I demonstrate it right here exactly what it is, and then I'll explain why in and of itself, it's not a trick. Watch the coin. We place it in this hand, and with a simple snap of the fingers, it's gone. Now that seemed like a trick. Well, it was a trick, but it basically was using a move, and a move is simply a little bit of sleight of hand. It's the most sleight of hand you'll have to learn on all of these videos, and it's very simple. And that piece of sleight of hand is not used to just vanish a coin or vanish an object. It should be used in a larger trick. Now, where is the coin? It's in my lap. How did it get there? I'll show you. When I picked up the coin like this, I really didn't pick up the coin. What I did instead was apparently pick up the coin and vanished it. Well, I didn't really vanish it. I just didn't pick up the coin. It's in my lap. How did it get there? Well, it got there simply by me scraping it off the edge of the table. I never picked it up. It appeared that I picked it up. Everything I did led you to believe that I picked up the coin. The way you practice this move is you simply put your fingers over the top of the coin. You notice when I cover the coin, you don't see it at all, although you know it's there. Now, when I take it to the edge of the table, the natural way to pick up a coin would be to lever it up with your thumb and hold it like that. So everything you do when you practice this is just pick up the coin, drag it, pick it up, drag it, pick it up, drag it, pick it up. You'll notice the thumb goes to lever the coin up just like it naturally would. So now when you want to learn how to do this move, you just simulate everything you're doing when you naturally are doing the move of dragging and picking up a coin, only you let it fall right off the edge of the table into your lap. And by the way, if you're having a napkin in your lap, like I am right now, it'll serve to catch it very nicely so it doesn't slip between your legs. So that's what's the move. Now, you don't use it just to go like this and say, hey, the coin's gone, because there's a psychological aspect of this, and that is you want to let some time pass from the time you've dropped the coin into your lap to the time you vanish the coin. So you add something to it, and that's what makes it a trick. When you add something to the basic move, then it becomes a trick. And if you remember when I demonstrated this, I didn't just go, watch, it's gone. I did this. Watch, I'll take the coin, place it in my hand, snap my fingers, and it's gone. Now, the trick is, how did it disappear from this hand by snapping my fingers and doing that? So that's the psychological aspect. You always take the move and you disguise it with something else so that they don't see the move. So I've now taken the coin, I've placed it somewhere else. Everybody believes the coin is now in this fist. Now, when the coin disappears, it vanishes from this hand, not the edge of the table, or this hand where it was before. So now it's here, you let a little time pass, you do something magical that makes it look like that's what makes the coin disappear, and then you do that. And that's where it becomes a magic trick, and not just a piece of sleight of hand or a move, as we call it in the magic business. Now, of course, you can do this with just about anything. You're sitting at a table, and there's a matchbook there, and you say, hey, these are interesting matches. I like the logo on them. You know, the funny thing about it is if you snap your fingers and you throw it in the air, it becomes invisible. See? So the trick has happened with the matchbook. Or you can borrow somebody's finger ring. Say, wow, that's a really neat ring. Look, there's an inscription there. I tell you what, can you hold on to this for just a minute? Yeah, give me your hand. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Too late. Ring's gone. You got another ring I can borrow? So you let enough time pass from the time it went off the edge of the table to the time you were going to put it in their hand, and they've forgotten that you ever dragged it off the edge of the table and picked it up. So that's why, again, I'll reiterate, it's a move and not a trick in and of itself. It can be used anywhere in many different tricks, of which I'll be showing you in the upcoming tape here. It's also very useful, as you'll see in about 2 tricks down the road, not only to vanish something, but also to switch something for something else. We call it the ultimate utility move because you can use it so many ways to vanish or switch an object. Hey, here's something with a $50 and a fairly solid table, wouldn't you agree? Did you know that every table has a soft spot? If you listen for it, you can actually find it. I know that sounds far-fetched, but watch. All you have to do is put this hand underneath the table, and it'll catch the coin as it goes through. I know. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Watch. I think it's over here. There it is. And it just went through the table. Found the soft spot right there. Well, this is a great little trick that can be used with a borrowed coin or a coin that you take out of your own pocket, and it uses audio as part of a convincer to really sell the trick. Once you have the coin that's on the table, you simply do the ultimate utility move, which I just explained, and you explain that there's a soft spot in every table. And if you reach underneath to catch the coin as it comes through, at that point, I'm retrieving the coin from my lap with my left hand. So I do the ultimate utility move, pretend that I have it, say, now I'm going to reach below the table and find the soft spot in the table. And as I have the coin in my hand under the table, I'm simply clicking it to the bottom of the table, right on the edge, just banging it up against the table. At the same time, I'm doing this. Ah, I found it. And then, as I just simply time the 2 hands together, do that, I'm doing exactly the same at the bottom of the table, getting a good snap. Now, you'll notice I'm working on a table with a tablecloth. Not the best table to do it on. You want to have a surface that is like a Formica or solid top table, because ordinarily this would probably sound a little more dull. but we have the tablecloth for many other purposes in this tape, so we're cheating a little bit. Best to do it on a hard surface. So you go, found it, right there, and then simply lift your fingers like that, and then bring the coin out as though it just went right through the table. Great trick. You'll really fool some people with this one. Hey, Belinda, I'd like to try something. Do you have a business card?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can get her business card. I'm going to show you something that's kind of fun. All right, there. Oh, and marketing. I'll tell you what, why don't you take your card. If you do a favor for me, I want you to fold it in half. And what that represents is doubling your efforts at your job in marketing, okay? All right. Everything should mean something, you know. Now, why don't you fold it in half again, double your efforts one more time.
All right.
And then the real test of strength is, can she double her efforts one more time and fold it in half again? Of course, sure. That's boy, if you can do it the other way. Good, and put it here on the table. Great. Now, can I borrow your hand for just a minute?
Sure.
Okay, I want you to take the card and hold on to it nice and tight. Get your fingers closed and turn your hand over. Now, whatever you do, don't let that card out of your hand, okay? I have a question. All that doubling of your effort, redoubling of your effort, what should that produce in good business? What is the hopeful outcome?
Lots more money.
Lots more money. Let's see if all that doubling of all your efforts turned anything into what we hope the fruits of all that labor is. And that is money, money, money. Well done.
Can we do that again?
Yeah, I want to get into that one. Yeah, everybody, here's my card. My good friend Tiffany is going to help me explain some of these tricks for you. This is a great trick. Makes a big impression when you want to hand out your business card, or actually when you want to take someone's business card and do some magic with it and leave them with an impression. I, of course, borrow a card from someone and then say, I'll tell you what, do me a favor, fold that in half. They go through the folding procedure. I'll just shorten things up and tell them after they've folded it to toss it on the table. If you're sitting at a table, then say, if I can I borrow one of your hands for a minute? Now that acts as a misdirection. It forces the attention to the hand for just a moment, and they'll put their hand out like that, and then you do the ultimate utility move. Now, I want you to look at what's in my right hand. We'll get a good close-up right here. I have the folded dollar bill. I'm going to show you right now exactly how to fold that. You want it to be in as small a package as you possibly can to simulate the same size as a folded business card, and basically that's this. Fold it in half, and a half again, in half again, and in half again. It's not exactly the same size, but it's pretty close. Now that is just simply held in your fingers. You can have your thumb there, and it's there all the way from the start. It's kind of there's a term in magic called palming. And it's not really palming, but basically palming simply means to hold something in your hand and people don't know it's there. And the object now is to keep this hand looking as natural as possible. It's just resting here, holding the bill. So when this gets thrown down, you say, can I use your hand for just a minute? And then you simply put your fingers right on top of the business card. So you got them both. Do the ultimate utility move, just drag and let the business card drop right off the end of the table, and then you just work the bill into the tips of your fingers and stuff it right into their hand. Close the fingers on it just like that and say, I want you to hold that really tight and don't let it out. That's why that kind of covers the reason why you're pushing it into their hand and squeezing their hand like that. Just take control of their hand. Don't be gingerly about it. Just say, I want you to hold that business card. Don't let me get it out of there. And then they'll grab it good and tight. Say, now you keep the card. We're going to see if we can make some magic happen, okay? And then you talk about doubling your efforts. When they folded the card, you double your efforts again in your business, and you double your efforts again. What do you hope that produces? Of course, they say money. And you say, I tell you what, let's see if any of that doubling of the efforts and folding your card did anything. When they open their hand, they'll be quite surprised. When you put that business card in their hand, they're convinced it's their business card, and you say, now remember, you doubled your efforts and doubled your efforts again. All that little story you're recapping here gives them all the time in the world to forget about picking up off the table. So when you say, let's see if it happened, and they get the bill, you're guaranteed to get a surprise. All right, here's an experiment in mental telepathy using some color crayons. I need a volunteer to help me with this, and let's get the amazing Tiffany to come up here. Would you, Tiffany? Let's give her. Hey, Tiffany. Tiffany, a whole bunch of different colored crayons. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn my back, and I want you to place a crayon in my hand, okay?
All right.
And then I want you to hide the rest of them, so when I turn back, I can't see which one is in my hand. Okay. I want to see which one's missing. So you go ahead and take any one of those that you like and place it in my hand. Okay? Hide the rest of them, okay, if you would.
I'm ready.
Now, the objective, of course, is for me to figure out what crayon you gave me, okay? This is sometimes really hard, but I'm getting a feeling very cooling and very refreshing and something you just want to jump into and just enjoy. This feels like water to me. I'm getting the color blue. Is that right?
That's
is it blue?
right.
Oh, I got it. All right. Right. I'm going to give you that one back. You can put it back in if you want. You can hand me that one again, or any one you like. Put it behind my back. And, okay, so I've got one now. Back here, you hide the rest of them. Okay, see if I can figure out which one this one is. Now, I've got it divine. I think this one also is really cooling. This one, though, reminds me of springtime, when everything sort of just blossoms and the trees get full of great green leaves, and I'm feeling green. Is that right? And the color of money, too?
You're exactly right.
Hey, I got it. All right. Let's do one more, and then we'll put this baby to bed, okay? Let's try any other one. Here, we'll go here in his hand. Give it to me, okay? Hide the rest of them, okay, if you would.
I'm ready.
All righty, now I'm going to see if I can figure out what this one is. That's the whole objective here. And are you sending it to me?
I'm
Because
sending
I'm
it
getting
to
something
you.
hot here. I'm getting like really hot and fiery. But not only that, I'm getting something refreshing, like something like some citrus or something you'd want to eat when juicy, when you're really thirsty, like perhaps my favorite fruit. Is this an orange one? Is this orange?
That's right.
Wow, let's hear it for Tiffany. You can have all of these as a souvenir. And remember, don't color outside the lines, okay? All right. Well, the secret to this is just presentation. There's really very, very little happening in terms of mechanics. I'll show you that in just a second. But the whole success is how well you can sell the fact that you're actually somehow picking up what color it is through mystical senses and mystical perceptions and ESP and all that. So the more that you can sell it about, I'm getting the sense of something really cool and refreshing, anything that green or blue or red reminds you of, because here's how the mechanics of the trick work, which are very simple. Tiffany, what I'd like you to do is hand me one of those crayons when I turn my back. What you do basically is you have both hands back here, one maybe on your hip and one behind your back. She's going to place it in my right hand. And I want you to watch what I do here. As that crayon is in my hand, watch my thumb. Thumb just scrapes across. And look at my nail. That little bit of green there. Now that I've got the green under my nail, I transfer the crayon to my other hand, and then I bring that hand that has the green on the nail out like this, and I say, okay, now it's my job to figure out what crayon you've got. Now, I've just looked at my thumb, and you don't go, oh, it's green. I mean, you try and do it casually. Hold it about 1.5 feet in front of your face and say, okay, I'm going to try and figure out what it is. Now, as soon as you know what color it is, get your hand sort of away from your eyes, because you don't need to have it there anymore, and you don't want them to think you've somehow got something on your hand that's telling you. So you just see it and you go, okay, I think this is the color, and you start using it out here, and you're looking out here, and all your looks go out here, and that's where the presentation comes in, rather than staring at your thumb. Once you know it's green, that's all you need to know. In fact, sometimes I'll clean the little bit of crayon out from underneath my nail. You notice it's already gone, because it just takes a little flick. So as I'm waving my hands, I'm going, okay, this is a really refreshing color. It's a color of the spring. It has a smell associated with it, too. I know, when I was a kid, what's coming back to me now is that smell of freshly mowed grass. That must be, so it's all presentation. It's whatever you can think of that associates with that color. And then when you get it right, you say, is this in fact green? Before
Yes,
you bring it out, ask them, did you give me a green crayon?
I did.
Oh, you did, huh? Oh, sure enough, it is green. So you don't bring it out until you get verification that it's green. And then say, okay, let's try that again. And the same thing repeats. And say, you can of course, give me any color you want. Now, it's important, in this explanation, we didn't do it. It's important that she's not standing here holding the crayons, because someone could say, well, you're looking at them and you've noticed that green is gone. So you make sure that the person has hid the rest of the crayons before you turn around. So really it is timing. It's in the hand. As soon as she places it, you turn around, and it should take no longer than the second that she hands it to you to scrape it like that and say, okay, I'm going to get it. I've transferred hands. They don't even realize you've transferred the crayon, because both hands are sort of back here. You scrape, you dump it in the other hand, get the color blue. That's how it works. You can do it 4, 5, 6 times until people are sleeping, and then that's a pretty good clue to stop. But 3 will pretty much impress them. Hey, here's something that's kind of interesting with some toothpicks. Now, we know those are made out of wood. Everything in the world is actually made out of some kind of material, and everything is made out of energy. If you really look really close, you know, it's all just molecules. It's electrical energy. But wood is not considered a very good conductor of electricity. For example, I can take a copper wire and pass electricity through it very well, but when it comes to toothpicks, not so well. Except I found that if I find just the perfect polyester material that I rub the toothpick with. I find that you can make an electrical charge jump from one toothpick. Did you see that? Really? Watch. We'll do it again. We rub it right here on the polyester and see if we can't just transfer a charge from one toothpick to the other. Chloe, can I borrow your hand for just a second? We'll place that right there on your hand, get a little static charge here, and see if we can't just make a transfer from one right to the other. Those are electrostatic toothpicks, and I think it's rather shocking. This is kind of an impromptu little puzzler that has quite a shocking effect, pardon the pun, when someone else is holding the toothpick especially. Let me show you the mechanics of this. First of all, the whole secret is in the way you hold the toothpick in your hand. Now, I'm simply pinching it between the thumb and forefinger, but this curled middle finger is behind. This is what it looks like to the audience as I turn my hand. From my point of view, you'll see that my nail is just there at the end of the toothpick and just catches it like that. And if you'll notice, this end gets a little bit of a jerk. Now, we're really close now, so that jerk looks a little more than it does when you're watching it from a distance. But that little vibration, and actually you can get to where you control it so minutely that even the flick of that isn't as perceptible. So when you bring in another toothpick like this and you get close to it, and it sends it flying. And of course, when you put it in the hands of someone else, after you've done it a few times, just let it rest there, Tiffany, and you come in like that, it gives them quite a little shock when it jumps up like that. Of course, all this is baloney, as we say in the magic business. It's just subterfuge with all the static electricity, because actually you need a reason to have this phenomenon occurring. You don't want to say, watch what happens when I touch these together. I flick the toothpick and it sends it flying. See, that pretty much gives away the secret. So you want to cover it up by saying it's all done with static electricity. That's an important part of all of these tricks, is the presentation. What you're saying is happening is generally not the truth. But in fact, it'll never be the truth. Take that one from me. But it gives a story, and it also misdirects their attention from what's really happening. So actually, misdirection, that old expression, the hand is quicker than the eye, is not really true. It's just that the magician's mind, or the person doing the trick, is sharper and ahead of the person watching the trick. So it's all the story. The mechanics are always easy. Hey, Steve, we were talking earlier. I told you I'd give you my business card, and I wanted to get yours. Why don't you come up here, and I'll give you mine, and I'll get yours a little later, but I wanted to make sure that you got this. So, hey, wait a minute. Before I give it to you, if you got a second, I want to show you something with this card, okay? Sneaky how I got you up here to do a trick, didn't I? All right, here's my card. I'm going to leave it in my hand and close my fingers around it like that, and I have here a pencil in my pocket. What I'm going to do is try to tap my hand 3 times, once, twice, 3 times, and see if I can't make that business card disappear. Would that be a good trick?
Okay, yeah.
All right, I mean, it's right there. There's no question in your mind it's in my hand, right? All right, we'll give it a shot. Watch. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I forgot. It's not the business card that's supposed to disappear. It's the pencil that's supposed to disappear. Silly me. Actually, I'll show you what I did. Look right up here. You'll see that I actually ditched it right up here in my behind my ear. So I was pulling the wool over your eyes. It was a little fun. Let's just try it with the card again. You ready?
All right.
All right. 1, 2, 3. And the trick worked. The card's gone. I'm sorry. I wanted to give you my card. Now I can't do it. Wait a minute. I'll tell you what. I have another one right here. You take that. I'll get yours a little later, okay? All right. Thank you very much. This one is called Twice Fooled for good reason, because you sting them twice on this one. And it capitalizes very much on a basic fundamental principle of magic called misdirection. You really misdirect the attention of the viewer to the wrong place, and it's very clever. You'll see how it works. You start out, of course, with your business card in the outside left jacket pocket. You must have it there for the success of this trick, so it really necessitates you're wearing a jacket. Or if you're not wearing a jacket, it's got to be something that has a very accessible and very easy to get in and out of pocket in this location of your person. And then you also have your pencil or pen in this pocket. Or anywhere. Where you get this from is not important, but you have to have it handy. So you start out and say, hey, I want to give you one of my cards. Here it is. And, oh, before I give it to you, let me show you something interesting. This little thing I learned is trying to make it disappear. You want to see it?
Yeah.
So you reach up and you grab the pen or pencil. Say, what I'm going to do is just close my hands over the card. Now, you try to cover as much of the card as possible. Just sort of angle it so you can get most of the card hidden from view from the person as they're looking down at your hand, because when it actually is gone later on, you want them to think that it's still there. So you say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to tap my hand 3 times like this, 1, 2, and 3 times, and hopefully I'll make that card disappear. And you show it to him again, and I say, oh, I want to see that. So let's start really watching your hand, and that's the misdirection, because you've just told them in advance it's going to disappear from your hand. So that rivets their attention in the wrong place. Now here's what happens when you count 3. You simply go 1, 2, and then just jam this baby right behind your ear like you do whenever you need someplace to put your pencil. You just stick it behind your ear. Now make sure you don't stick it in your right eye. That can be very painful, but it makes for a great trick, I'm sure, but a different kind. So you go 1, 2, 3, and just come down just like, oh, I forgot. It's not the business card that's supposed to disappear. It's the pencil. Now, usually they're looking, you can turn back toward them, and they frequently never even see it behind your ear. They're going because they're so astonished the pencil's gone. But you want to show the business card is still there, and then you laugh and say, yeah, look, I fooled you. I actually just stuck it up here. Now, here's misdirection again, because as soon as they see it up here, you've turned your whole body away from them, and you got your hand here at your side. Remember, the business card was here in the hand. You turn away, and now you just ditch it in the pocket. Just dump it right in your pocket and say, look, the pencil's up behind my ear. And then you take your hand out again and close it just like it was when it was holding the card, and swing back and say, I was just being silly. I was trying to fool you. Let's really try and make the business card disappear. And then you do exactly the same thing. Go 1, 2, and 3, and it's gone. And they'll go, whoa, where did that go? So your turn is only long enough to show the pencil behind your ear and dump the card and then come right back in the exact same position. And that's why I mentioned you want your hand to cover as much of the business card as you possibly can, because at this point, the card is not there. And if you've got half the card sticking out at the beginning, and then when you dump it and come back and it's not there, it's going to look suspicious. So, by the way, this does not have to happen with a business card. This can be a coin, this can be a ring, it can be anything in your left hand. So if your hand is too small to hide a business card, don't worry about it. They were just used it because it's a great way to hand out your business card. Otherwise, you can vanish anything you want as long as it can be held in your hand. And now once I've vanished the business card and we appreciate the little trick here, say, I'll tell you what, I wanted to give you my card. I do have another one, and then you reach in and get the same one that you've been using. An important part of this is that you don't break rhythm. You don't go 1, 2, 3, because everybody's going, what happened between 2 and 3? You could have driven a truck through that. So you can just simply practice 1, 2, 3. And when you got that routine, that move down, then you're ready to add the rest of it. So it's just stick it behind your ear. Maybe it's the sign of the times, but the silverware they're making these days is made out of some pretty flimsy material, if you ask me. If you look at that, it just looks like you couldn't scoop ice cream with that if you tried. Which I tell you, if you got into that ice cream thing, you could probably bend the heck out of it, but that's all right. You just straighten it out that fast, and you can start all over again. And it's right back to its good old flimsy self.
Oh, my God.
Well, this is actually another optical illusion. This appears to be something happening that isn't, and you sell it in a number of different ways. It really can catch some people by surprise when you do it. You're sitting at a restaurant and say, oh, gee, look at this silverware. It's kind of strange. First, I'll show you the optical illusion where it looks like it's made of rubber. You grab the spoon about, I guess it's about midpoint. Every spoon is different, but you'll kind of feel the balance point on any spoon, and then you're very lightly holding it, and you start to wave it like this, and let it just teeter-totter in your hand. And this is when you can only practice. Just look in a mirror and try it until you get the point where what you're doing is you're moving your hand vertically up and down. The hand is going up like this, the spoon is just wobbling, and it's just an optical illusion, and sometimes it doesn't look rubber at all, and sometimes it just looks like it's just made of rubber. And again, I'll only stress, just try it in front of the mirror a couple of times until you get to the point where it looks like you've achieved the rubbery effect. They say, boy, this stuff is really made of flimsy material these days. Then you go into the bending. Now watch how this works. You put the spoon in your hand, but you notice it goes between the little finger and the ring finger like that. So it's sticking out here. The reason why is you want you want a fulcrum point here, too, a place for it to hinge on, because actually you're not bending the spoon, you're letting it hinge down like this as you're bending the spoon. Now, the other hand comes into play as a cover. It kind of masks the fact that this spoon is sitting here between these fingers. Just covers right over the front like that, and your two thumbs go together up at the top like this, hiding this. So you should just see the thumbs. So you say, well, look at the spoons, and then the hand comes in, and then basically what you're doing is just relaxing your grip on the spoon as you're making it look like you're getting really into bending it like that, and you bend it right over the top, and your hands come right over. And we're going to show you this from behind. Here we go. Goes down and stops there as you put in all the fake tension of bending the spoon. So it's all optical at that point. And of course, the body and the face and everything sells the fact that you're bending the spoon. And even the voice, if you do it, say, boy, this stuff is really made cheap. And then when I straighten it out, it's really no clever way to cover this up. You just grab it like this and show it, hey, it's back. You can do that rather quickly. So it bends, and then say, hey, don't worry, it's straight. That's actually the whole of bending the spoon. And I say, when you pick up somebody's fine silver at their house and go, oh, boy, this stuff's really cheap, you'll watch some faces, jaws drop on that one, and then you make it all better real quick. Here's something that really irks me. You go to a nice restaurant, you're ready for a great meal, you sit down and you realize the service isn't up to par because you look down and there is one piece of silver at your place setting. Now, how are you going to have your soup when you've got just a fork? I figured out the solution. All you have to do is take your napkin, open it up like this, adjust it like so, put the fork in the middle, and then you start to roll it up into a tube like this. Make sure I don't do any funny moves here, okay? Roll it up like this. And if you're very clever, you can snap your fingers like that and enjoy your soup just the way you want to with that spoon. And you're ready to eat the first course.
Wow.
The key to this amazing transformation is the fact that you actually have a spoon underneath the handkerchief from the start. Now, how it gets there, I'll show you in a minute. First, let me show you how the transposition from spoon to fork takes place. The spoon is actually crosswise like this, parallel to your body. They just don't see it. You take the fork and you place it right on top. Now the bowl of the spoon is the same way that I have the bend in the fork, so it kind of rests nicely over that. What happens then is you grab the two of them together. I'll let you know here that I have put a little piece of tape here just so you can see right on the edge of the underside of the napkin, because I want you to understand what actually happens in this trick when you roll it up is the whole napkin flips over. And in flipping over, it takes the fork and the spoon with it. So the spoon comes to the top, the fork goes underneath. It sounds weird, but you'll see how it happens. You grab both of them like this through the cloth, and you begin to roll it in a nice tube like this. You roll them both together toward the end. Now remember, this is the underside. Watch what happens as you get to the point where these two corners meet. This one flops over, and the other one that had the piece of tape there is now on top. So when the two corners exchange places, you can now unroll it like this, and the spoon is there instead of the fork. So that's how the transposition happens. Now there's one other item here, is once it's happened, all their attention is on the spoon, and it's very easy to simply pick up the spoon like this. Now the fork is right there behind it, underneath, is to pick up the spoon, and you simply drag the fork right off into your lap, and you say, that's the spoon transformation. So, let me show you how this all starts at the beginning. You need a little bit of preparation. When people aren't watching, you simply take your napkin and fold it like this. I folded the ends in like that, so we have them meeting in the middle, and then you fold it in thirds like this, and then you put the spoon right underneath it like that. So when that's set up, you can then take the fork and throw it on top. So now all you have to do is grab the spoon and the fork right through the napkin, push it into position. Spoon is right underneath. Put the fork aside, open this up like this, and now you can adjust it like this as long as you don't let the spoon be revealed. So you have to keep it in the same relative position. There's the spoon right there, and then you're all ready, of course, to lay the fork right on top and continue on rolling the two together. And as you roll them, you can straighten out like this, but just make sure they know there's nothing fishy going on. And then Sometimes it'll get real far away from you. Just lift it up like this, move it closer, and then let the ends flop over. Grab the opposite ends, reveal the spoon, drag the fork off into your lap, and you're clean. Hey, I'd like to ask a question. Angels are very popular recent years, aren't they? I mean, you hear a lot about them, magazine stories about them, and you turn on TV, there's stories. Anybody here kind of believe in angels? Oh, come on, all of you? All right, well, good, because I want somebody who believes in angels. Brooke, would you help me with this one?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, stand right over here. Right over the trap door. Good, that's good. I'm just serious. Okay. What belief in angels do you have? Do you actually feel that they're guiding your life, or?
Yeah.
Yeah? Really?
Yeah, I
Have
feel
you
like
had
they're
any?
around me.
Yeah? Well, good. That's going to be perfect. Because we're going to see if we can't summon an angel. Now, you've probably heard that some people think there are good angels and bad angels, and, you know, bad forces and good forces. In fact, there's that sort of image you get of the good angel sitting on one shoulder and the bad angel, you know, whispering in your ear. And, yeah? You're familiar with that?
Yeah.
If you were to have a good angel, which shoulder do you think the good angel would be sitting on yours? That one over here? And the bad angel over here? All right, let's see if we can't summon an angel. Stand right there. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take my two hands like this.
Yeah.
And I'll come toward you and touch your eyebrows, okay?
Okay.
And I'll say 1, 2, and I'm going to come in and touch your eyelids with my fingers. I won't touch hard, and I'll ask you to close just like that, and I'll touch your eyelids, okay? And when we've done that, we'll see if we can summon an angel. Okay, you can open your eyes now.
All right.
Okay. Now, if you feel the presence of an angel, something happen or something occur, then it's okay to open your eyes, okay?
Okay.
All righty. So you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, now keep them open until I say close. 2, close. 3. Something happened?
Yeah. You went like this on my shoulder.
Oh, that would have been the good angel then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, cool, huh? I didn't see anything. That's very cool. They're all where they were, weren't they? So it had to be your angel. Let's try it again. Maybe the bad angel is here, okay? Try it again, okay? Watch. No, there's nothing over here. All right, go for the bad angel here. 1, 2, close. 3.
What was that?
I don't know. I didn't see anything. Anybody see anything?
No.
What happened? Did you feel something? Because angels are
Yeah,
invisible.
something brushed my shoulder.
Must have been the bad. This shoulder here had to be the bad angel. I don't know. I have no explanation for it. Did anybody get up here? They're all in the same place. One more time. Let's just try this. 1, 2, close. 3. I don't know. What angel was that? I have no idea what angel that was. I think you're spooky. You better sit down. Everybody stay away. Give her a round of applause for helping. Well, this is a great fooler, especially for the person standing next to you that this is being presented on. And, of course, a lot of entertainment for the people watching it because they figure out what's happening and they can see what's happening and they appreciate and enjoy the fact that she can't figure it out. So it's entertainment on two facets. For you, though it should be a real mystery, you, again, rely heavily on the presentation of angels, touched by an angel. The fact, as I set it up in the presentation, you can watch it again. You bring up all the bit about angels being very popular. Do you believe in it? A lot of people believe in angels, the good, the bad angel, the shoulders, and all that sort of thing. The actual mechanics are what I'll show you now. You can watch the presentation for the story. You're simply conditioning the person to believe the sensation of 1, and seeing that. Don't close your eyes until I say close your eyes, okay? 1, 2, so they're really getting used to seeing the 2 fingers come to their eyes. So you've conditioned when they finally feel this, that those are the same 2 fingers. It's a conditioning process and it's very important. So you actually say, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to touch your eyebrows once, twice, and then I'm going to ask you to close, 3, and then actually say, while you're explaining what's going to happen, actually use your 2 fingers, and then I'm going to put them on your eyeballs and say, I won't push hard, don't worry, I just want to touch your eyelids. And then go ahead, open. And then what I'll do is maybe something magical will happen or mysterious. So they're seeing you with your 2 fingers in front of their eyes, so they now will not suspect anything other than that when they actually feel the angel on their shoulder. So you understand now? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So then you go ahead and you do the old switcheroo on this one. You say, okay, here we go. Don't close your eyes till I tell you to. 1, 2, and you say close, 3. And then you go and touch the eyelids. So say close before you say 3, so that it gives you time to switch from here. Now you want them, also you want their eyes closed so they don't see you do this. And that's one of the frequent mistakes with this, is that someone will, open your eyes, Tiffany, great. Someone will go, and 3, close. And of course they've seen the whole switch. So you want to make sure those eyes are closed. So it's, one more time, it's 1, 2, close, 3. And you just go in and try and keep the same rhythm and touch them very gently. You don't want to be pushing against their eyeballs. And then just give them a little light brush like it was an angel. Now, when that happens, and you can even tell them up front, if you feel the presence of an angel or you feel anything like somebody might have made their appearance, go ahead and open your eyes. And you can actually say that with confidence, because by the time, go ahead close, by the time you touch them, if you're quick, you get back right to here, they're going to open their eyes, and it takes a second for their eyes to sort of adjust to that close. They will not see you coming in from the outside with that finger. They'll actually, the first thing that they'll actually see is the tips of your 2 fingers, and then you start pulling them away slowly as though they've been there all the time. So that's all very important. So one more time, just so you got it. 1, 2, close, 3. And then get right back into position, and make sure you get that second finger in so you're not sitting there like this. That'll be telltale. So you go from here to open to there, and then come back real slowly off their eyes, just the same way you went in. And then you can do the bad angel too. So go ahead, close. And just, you have to be careful reaching underneath there like that. Open. Yeah, good. And they'll see that. And then I always like to finish by, close your eyes again, is going just a little tap up there. It kind of surprises them. Say, what angel was that?
I don't know.
I don't know. A devious one, I think. All right, that's how you do it. Have a great deal of fun with this, and I'm sure you'll find for just 1 person or 10 people, it'll be a real crowd pleaser. For 1 person, a real crowd pleaser? Not sure how that works. Hey, Rob, you like card tricks, don't you?
Yes.
All right, let's do a card trick together, all right? Okay. I'm going to use this mat because the cards show up really well on it. What I'd like you to do, first of all, is mix up this deck of cards and make sure that they're in no prearranged order until you're happy that they're mixed and they're totally random. You can shuffle them, cut them, or whatever you like. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to take out one of my business cards here that we're going to do something with in just a second. Okay, you're pretty good at that.
Almost.
Almost, pretty good. All right, everybody see that they're well mixed?
Yeah.
Okay? All right, let's see what happens here. I'm going to make a prediction. Let me just concentrate here. 2 cards. 2 cards are talking to me. I'm going to write them right here on the back. I don't know. I could be off base here. You shuffle the deck. We're happy with that, all right? Here's what I'd like you to do. Take my card. Don't turn it over. But as I run through the cards, I want you to insert it anywhere in the pack that you like between any 2 cards, okay?
All right.
Go ahead anywhere you like. If you want to go up here, I'll spread them there. It's up to you. Totally
there.
random.
Up there.
Okay, but only put it in halfway. Leave it jutting out half the deck. Okay.
Okay.
That's where it goes, right? Okay. I told you I wrote something on the back of the card.
Yes.
I kind of intimated they were 2 cards, all right?
Right.
All right. I'm now going to let you see what 2 cards I wrote on the back of the card. There's where you put it, 5 of hearts and 5 of spades, okay? I'm going to spread the deck exactly there. I want you to remove my card, my business card, and the 2 cards on either side of the business card.
Okay.
Great. I wrote 2 cards there. If you would, turn over the 2 cards that were on either side where you inserted.
No way.
5 of hearts.
Oh my gosh.
How did you do that? I have no idea. Here's another great trick using a business card, and a terrific way to get your card into somebody's hands in a magical fashion. You have to, of course, have a deck of cards with you as well, and you say, this is a trick using 2 cards. I've got one of them as my business card, and there's 52 more in here that look a little different. We're going to try something. First, what I'd like you to do, is, if you would, Tiffany, is just to shuffle up the cards, make sure they're in no prearranged order. Once that's done, there's one thing that you do now that's very important. You say, under the guise of saying how well shuffled they are, you're actually looking at 2 cards. So you say, boy, you really shuffled those well. And if there's other people see how, you know, this is a well-shuffled deck, you look at 2 cards. The bottom card, the 10 of diamonds, and the 2 of spades. And those are the cards that you're going to write on the business card as your prediction. You just do it, again, under the pretense of showing how well shuffled they are. So you quickly glimpse them, 10 of diamonds, 2 of spades, and you say, you know what, Tiffany, I'm going to make a prediction. And you take the pen and say, just don't mention that they're cards. I might have done that in the performance. And if I did, it's okay, but it's better to leave them wondering what it is. So you just say, I'm just going to make a prediction about something I think is going to happen. And you write, I'm writing 10D and 2S, and that stands for 10 of diamonds and 2 of spades. It's the easiest way to write it without taking a long time. Say, okay, there's my prediction. I've written on the back of my card, but I don't want you to see what I've written yet, although I will put it right over here by you. What I'd like you to do is you shuffled this deck, right?
Yes.
Of course, you want to remind them of that all the time. All that good stuff helps make it seem even harder. See, I want you, anywhere as I go through here, at any place in your shuffled deck, put my card in between any 2 cards.
Okay.
Now, make sure you tell them, don't turn the card over. I don't want you to see what I wrote, so they don't flip it over and see something at that point. You say, now that's a free choice. Do you want to change your mind, or are you happy with the mind you have?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, great. All right, little joke in there. Now, you say, leave it sticking out halfway. If they don't do that, say just leave it sticking out halfway, and then you just carefully close up the deck so that there's no suspicion that you've moved that position. Now you say, all right, your card is there between 2 cards. I didn't influence you in any way. I've written something on the back of that card. You don't know what it is yet. I'm actually filling a little time here because it's kind of silly to have them put it in, and then you close it up, and then you immediately start spreading it again. So you want to, because you could do it that way, but then they say, why didn't you even close the deck? And then it sort of signals something's fishy here. So you close up the deck and you say, now, I told you I wrote something there. You don't know what it is. We're going to let you see now exactly what it is. And now you can spread the cards again, because you're actually going to change the position of her card, and it's such a subtle way that they somehow just don't notice it. Remember, the 10 of diamonds and the 2 of spades are the top and bottom cards. That card has got to get between those 2 cards. Right now it's between 2 other cards we don't even know or care. Watch how I do this. Say, okay, look, you don't know what's on the back of that card, but I'm going to show you right now. And you deal off all the cards above, and you hold their card right there, and you separate the deck, and you say, look, I've written the names of 2 cards on there, and you simply flip your hand over and set it right down on the top card of the deck. You say, there is 2 cards right there, and then you reassemble the pack, putting the 10 of diamonds directly on top of the card. It's now put between what are the top and bottom cards of the deck. And you re-square the deck instantly and set it on the table. You're ready for the finish. Now, at this point, you can either spread the cards, or you can invite the person. I want you to spread those cards on the table. Okay. Tiffany, if you would just kind of spread them open like that so we can see the position of your card. And now what I'd like you to do is to move my business card out of the deck, but also take the 2 cards on either side of it where you place the card. Now, I say where you place the card because it psychologically stresses and reminds her that she made that choice. Great. I've said 10 of diamonds and 2 of spades was a prediction. Why don't you turn those over and see if they have anything to do with this trick? Oh, what do you know? Sure enough, I predicted the 2 cards where you were going to place that in a shuffled deck. And, of course, that's the end of the trick. Just practice that flip-over move. Only one hand turns, flips over the card, and then that hand reassembles the pack. Here's a little puzzler with a rubber band, something we use every day in life. Rolly, have you got a ring that I can borrow? A men's finger ring? Sure. I'm going to try something with a rubber band. Go ahead and set it down. I'm going to break that. And we'll take the rubber band and run it right through the center of the ring like that. Now, you know, everything in life has its opposite. I mean, it's just the world's made that way. Positive has negative. Left has right. Yin has yang. Up has down. Even something as basic as gravity. Gravity works every day. It's part of life, right? Even gravity has its opposite, and something called anti-gravity. Watch.
Oh, look at that.
It's
I love it. That's great.
Thank you, Rolly. I hope you got a rise out of that. Well, this one is a real fooler. And this one actually is an optical illusion because it's not really the ring that is going up the rubber band. The ring stays in exactly the same place on the rubber band. It's the rubber band that is moving. You'll see what I mean. First thing you do, of course, is borrow the rubber band and break it. And if you can use a borrowed finger ring, even the better, although it should be, it should be not too heavy of a ring. And then you simply, I like to wrap around a loop of rubber band around my finger whichever finger is going to be the uphill finger. You do all the patter about everything has its opposite, and then just drop the edge of it through the ring like that. And then you stretch the rubber band really tight and do the bit about gravity as you let it drop like this. And then what happens, I'm going to open my fingers so you can see all this extra rubber band. This is ordinarily hidden behind. What's happening is you start to relax the fingers right here, the thumb and the index finger, and what's happening now is the rubber band is starting to contract, and it carries the fingering with it and sends it uphill. I'll try and do this again. It's a little more difficult to do with the fingers open like this. So there's the rubber band, and as I relax the fingers, it looks like it's going uphill. The ring is staying in the exact same spot on the rubber band, but it looks like it's going uphill as I relax the fingers. Now this will be getting shorter as I do that, so you don't want people to see. That's why you just keep the fingers around the curled around the end of the rubber band. And of course, you have to stop releasing that rubber band when you get near the end, otherwise it'll come out of your fingers like that and kind of ruins the trick. So watch again. Pull it tight. Now, one thing is kind of important is you have to have a little bit of perspiration on your fingers. Sometimes I'll even put a little lotion on my fingers so the rubber band slips through and doesn't get real jerky. So it's kind of a fun trick to play with. It's a great optical illusion. Take a little bit of practice. It's one of those things you just have to try for yourself. And also the angle is important too. It won't climb a real steep angle on the rubber band, so you kind of find an angle that's, well, just enough uphill to sell the fact that it's not sliding downhill and it's not going straight across. It is in fact going uphill. And it's one of those things you just play with and you'll experiment with and find it's quite successful and really fools people. They just don't see the rubber band shrinking as you let go of it, the anti-gravity ring on rubber band. Have fun with that one. Hey, I got a question. How many of you have heard of a guy named Houdini?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Houdini was an escapologist, which is just a fancy word for a guy who knows how to get out of stuff, okay? He was really good at getting out of jail cells and handcuffs and all sorts of things. Let's pretend this is Houdini, and if you'll take him, Tiffany,
Sure.
we're going to shove him into his next challenge, which is this glass. It's almost like a cell. We're going to stick him in there as hard as you can and jam him in.
All right.
Great.
He's
now,
in there.
All right. Now, Houdini would never go in and have the door left open. I mean, that's too easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock him into the jail cell, okay? Because that would be a real good challenge. And I want you to take the rubber band, if you would, and we'll put it right around the top so there's no way that he can get out.
Great.
Great. Now, Houdini's inside. He really can't get out. But being that he's Houdini, he's going to dematerialize. He was known as the man who could walk through walls, and you'll see Houdini.
Whoa!
In fact, get out of anything.
Hey!
This glass. This is a great trick in a dinner table setting because you have pretty much everything you need right there at the dinner table, some handkerchiefs, some glass. The only thing perhaps would be the rubber band that's not at hand, so bring that with you, and you're ready to go. The story about Houdini, I think, is really a great little story to present this trick in. What you do is have one of the handkerchiefs, I say handkerchiefs, I mean napkins, of course, have that placed inside of the glass. The selection of the glass is rather important in this, and you'll see why. You need to have a glass where when this is inserted deep inside and shoved down, that the glass can be turned upside down and still retain the napkin inside. So here's how this works. After that's put inside, you have the other napkin like this, and now you've introduced the rubber band into the scenario. You say, of course, Houdini would never be in anything without being locked inside. So you take the other napkin and you have it as spread in your hand as you can so that you can have it open. Now, obviously, if you have a big hand like mine, it's really easy to get quite a bit of open spread of this handkerchief because you're going to bring it in front of the glass like that for a moment, and you want to have enough cover. So your angles are a bit critical on this one. You say, okay, so Houdini's inside of here, and we're going to make sure that he's well secured. You bring this around, and I'll show you now what happens behind. You're showing this glass, and you're bringing this up, and you're simply doing this. You're turning the glass over. And the critical thing is the timing. You do not want to be caught doing this because you'll see me turning before I've got it covered. So you bring it in front, say, okay, now we're going to and this is how should be held fairly naturally. Say, now we're going to cover them up, and you bring it in front, you flip it over, and then grab it from the outside and say, what I want you to do, and now you've got your hand out, it's upside down, I want you to take the rubber band that gives you a reason to go on the table and get it, and just put it around the glass, just spread it open wide. And now you hold it like this, displaying Houdini inside the glass, and of course it's time now for him to make his escape, and all you have to do is say, nothing can hold Houdini inside, reach underneath, grab a hold of any part of the green handkerchief you can, and pull it right out the side like this, and everybody will go, whoa, how did that happen? And of course, now they're going to want to look at what's here, naturally. So the hand reaches up and grabs the glass. I'm going to show you what I'm doing after I unveil it here. You grab the top like this and let the rubber band release, and then something happens under the handkerchief. I'll show you now what's going on. This is under the handkerchief. As soon as that releases, you just let it rotate in your hand like that. All that happens underneath the handkerchief, so as soon as that releases, you say, and of course, when you unveil it, it's right side up and reinforces the fact that it was never upside down. So you have to practice that in front of a mirror once or twice to make sure you get the handling and what the angles are on it. But it's really quite surprising because people wonder how the heck did that get out of there. It was all sealed up. Hey, how'd you like to see something with a coin? This is kind of an interesting little experiment. Ann, would you help me with this? I have here a $50. I'll let you hold on to that for a second while I get this marking pen. Because what I'd like you to do is put a big mark on that everybody can see. It's a permanent marking pen, and I wanted to do that so that you know the same coin is being used all the way through this, okay? We have a big B there. Ann just wrote a B. We'll trust that you know what that means, all right? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and make this go right through solid matter, okay? Watch, I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to place your coin, the B, right here against my pant leg, and just run it up like this and put a fold in there and see if I can't make it disappear and go somewhere. Actually go right through, say go.
Go.
Right through my leg and come out the other side. Isn't that cool? All right, we're going to try something a little different this time. I'm going to let you verify that the coin is actually in my leg in case for a minute you thought I took it out. Watch. Take your finger, place it right there against the coin. You feel it? Mm-hmm. Actually there, right?
Yep.
Say go coin.
Go coin.
Gone. So now instead of behind my leg this time, it actually went all the way into my pocket, and there's your coin with the B on it. Now, it's going to get a little trickier now, okay? Watch. I'm going to take the B, coin, and what I'll do this time is actually put it right in my pocket so you can see it through the material. You see it right there? There's the shape of the coin and everything. In fact, why don't you grab a hold of it so you know it's there in the pocket. Great. Now you can give it to me, because what I'm going to do is fold the coin over just like we did before in a fold. Place your finger right on top of the coin, if you would. Good. Just right there. You got it? You feel it?
Yep.
Say go coin.
Go coin.
Gone right to the material. Go ahead and take it right off. And that's your coin, isn't it?
Yep.
Don't ever tell anybody how you did that, okay? Great, but I'll have the coin.
Oh, okay.
Boy, she's trickier than I am. Well, the success of this little mystery lies in the use of a duplicate coin. Of course, it doesn't have the initial on it because it's never really seen. It's in the pocket of your trousers. Now, also, you've noticed I'm not wearing my jeans. I'm wearing dress slacks. The trick really only works with a looser slack than, say, a jean because you need, of course, to be able to grab enough material to fold the coin into. So we're wearing those appropriate trousers. Now, it starts with the extra 50-cent piece. In my case, I like to use a 50-cent piece in the pocket. You have one sign, so the person knows that, in fact, the trick is only working with one. Silly them. They believe you right from the start, don't they? Okay, so you've got this one here, and we're ready to go. Here's what how the fold works. Now, by the way, you should have no other change in your pocket. It should only be the one coin. So what you do is after it's signed, and really it's important that it's signed because the trick loses a lot of its punch if you don't have the signed coin. You really want them to know this is the one, the very coin that's going through your leg and appearing in your pocket and penetrating through the material at the very end. You can do either one of the three moves. You don't have to do the whole thing as a routine, so frequently I'll only have one coin and it's not signed, and I'll just take it and make it penetrate through my leg like this. The basic move is this. You place the coin against your leg and you hold it with your thumb. Then you grab material below the coin. That's what's going to become your fold, and you simply fold it up. Now notice the fingers of my hand of my right hand here are going to act as a mask, and they sort of they're together like this because what really happens is the thumb draws the coin sideways behind the fingers so that it's here. It's never really in the fold at all. So it's just simply pulling it behind the fingers. The fingers act as a shield for that, so it looks like it's here, when in fact it's clipped in the fingers right over here. You hold the fold like this. So once you've stolen the coin, you hold the fold like that, and you say, watch, there's the coin in the fold. Say go. Say go. We're going to get to that part yet. The first one goes without you touching it, and then you just grab like this and pull it and say, gone. And the coin is in this hand, but all the attention's here on the fold. Say, gone, and then reach behind. Now, when you reach, don't turn your hand like this. They'll see it. Go straight back like this and say, look, it's behind my leg. It went right through my leg. Now, the second part's the part that Tiffany was getting ready to do. That's where I let her feel the coin. Now, the coin, the duplicate one, is in my pocket. It's right about here. So you have to sort of feel it as you're getting ready to put this coin here. You put it pretty much right on top of it or right next to it, because you do the same move again, and then you say, look, you can feel the coin right here, and then you find it for them and let them put their finger on it and just hold it there. Now, I've got the real Tiffany coin here. She's holding the one there in my pocket, and you say go.
Go.
And then you just grab and go like that, and they're surprised to see it go. You have to pull your leg away so they don't feel the coin again, and then say, look, now instead of going behind, now you got to keep the back of this hand always so they can't see the coin. And instead of going behind, it went into my pocket, and you just reach in and pull out the coin that's in your fingers. Of course, that's the one with the mark on it. So this one always stays in the pocket, and this is the only one that you're ever handling, really, except for the final move. Now watch what you do. Say, let's try something again. I'm going to take your coin, place it right into my pocket, and let you grab it. Now what I'm doing is I'm keeping Tiffany's coin in my hand, it's in my fingers, and I'm grabbing the other coin and pushing it against my pant leg. So you say, look, you can see the outline of the coin right there, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, grab it. And at that point, I tip the coin sideways, so she's got it by the edge, and she's holding it by the edge. The hand comes out with the coin. I say, now, have you got it? Mm-hmm. You really got a good hold on it. That gives you all the cover to slip behind your leg like this, and I work the coin right to the tips of my fingers, because I want to be able to do this move. I say, okay, let go of it, and I pull it kind of straight up like that, so you can see this, still see the coin in some cases. And then this hand comes behind, it's just ready to slap that right there and fold the whole thing down. So it just, once you take it from her, you say, go ahead, let me, hold it again. Mm-hmm. Say, go ahead, give it to me. Okay. I'm going to take it and just fold that whole thing down like that. And you're just loading it right underneath the coin. And so you've got the situation here where that's the Tiffany coin here, and it's sort of just folded right down on top. And you say, I tell you what I'd like you to do. You get your finger out, say, put your finger right on top.
Okay.
Okay? Say go.
Go.
And it'll stay in their hand, or sometimes just right underneath their finger. You have to just try that and see whether or not that occurs. Either way, it comes out right through the material, either just drops right down on the floor, or they've got it in their hand, or even better, sometimes just pressed right up against your leg. And either way, it's very magical because it's penetrated through the material of your pants. So enjoy that one. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you on the next trick. You know, while I was driving over here today, I had the weirdest premonition behind the wheel of the car about something automotive. I don't know if it was because I was driving. I don't know what it's about. I'm hoping this little experiment I'm about to conduct will explain something. Scott, would you help me with this trick?
Sure.
Okay, this involves my business cards, and I want you to have one of my business cards, and I'd like to get one of yours. I'm going to place a bunch of them on the table here. And I'd like to see if this premonition I had has anything to do with the cards. I'd like to give you my card, as I said, so let's eliminate all of these cards except one, because I have a feeling that only one of these, I guess 9 or 10 cards here, is right for you. I don't know what that means, but we'll mix them up like this, and let's eliminate just in a random, haphazard fashion by doing it this weird way. I'll point to 2 of these cards, and I'll ask you to eliminate one of the 2 cards I'm pointing to, and then we'll switch around and you point to 2, and I'll eliminate one of those, and then we'll go back and forth till we get down to 1 card and see what happens, okay? Right. So we'll mix them up, and I'll start out by pointing to these 2 here. Which one do you want to eliminate? Okay, that's gone. Now you point to 2 cards. Great, I'll eliminate this one, and now I'll point to 2 cards, these 2. All right, that one's gone. Now you point to any 2. Great, and I'll eliminate this one, and now I'll point to 2. How about these 2 here? All right, that one's gone, and now you point to 2. All right, and that one's gone. Now I'll point to 2. How about these 2 here? All right, that one's gone, and now, of course, if you point to 2, go ahead. You don't have much of a choice, do you? I'll eliminate 1. Now, let's see if we can find out what this is the one we're going to hold on to, but let's look at these here that we eliminated. Now, I told you it had something to do with automotive, I'm going to confess, I wrote something on the back of these cards. I'm going to turn them over. You'll see I have the names and colors of various cars. That's a black Jeep Cherokee, yellow Chevy pickup, a red Honda Accord, a silver Chrysler LeBaron, a blue Nissan Sentra, etc. There's a few more. You can read those. Are any of these your car,
No,
Scott?
No.
What do you drive?
A Gold Isuzu Trooper.
Well, let's look at the one card that we came down to and see if that has anything to do with what happened right there. I'm so glad you drive that car. Now, if I can find 8 people that drive these, I can do this trick 8 more times. That's great. Well, this is another great way to get your business card into the hands of somebody and leaving a real impression. They'll never forget this. They'll also be left with a card that has, you know, Gold Isuzu Trooper written on the back of it, or some other piece of information you've been able to glean from them. Obviously, the success of this trick depends upon you finding out some information about that person. And you can be very creative here. One way is if you're meeting somebody for lunch. You're going to a national food chain or someplace that you're used to going, and you know the menu. In fact, you don't even have to know the menu. You can make up items like chef salad, Chinese chicken salad, ham and cheese sandwich, and you write those on the back of the cards instead of the names of cars. What you want to do is have something different on each of the cards, and then the thing that you know about that person, what they're driving or what they're wearing. In fact, you can wait to even have the meeting, and when you slip off to go to the restroom or something, you take the last card and you write, he's wearing a red cashmere sweater. You write red cashmere sweater as the final one, and you add that to the group of cards that you spread on the table. The whole trick then becomes making the person select the card that that indicates the piece of information that you know about them. So those are the 2 successful parts of the trick, is randomly and haphazardly making it appear as though they've arrived at one card that was just by chance, and the other thing is how creative you can be about finding out some little bit of information. And we'll leave that up to you to see how creative you are. Anyway, what you do is you have the cards written on a stack of your business cards. They're all at the top, and you simply lay them out on the table like this. The last card to go down, I'm going to put down 9 cards. That's the one, I guess is the last one I put down, Gold Isuzu Trooper. That's the one that I always have last, because then I know exactly where it is on the table. Now, there's 2 ways you can keep track of where that card is when we mix these up. Don't mix them very much, just push them around like this a little bit and just keep track of it just by knowing where it is. Or if you sometimes want to mix it more, you can put a little nick on the face of the card somewhere. Now, I've put one here just in exaggerated form. You probably wouldn't put it this obvious here because someone might spot it, but just for the camera to follow it, there's a little dot up here. But actually, it doesn't have to be much smaller than that because they're seeing a whole lot of information on the table here. So you keep track of that, you mix them up. Now, there's 9 cards here. If I started out with an even number, it does make a difference. It just makes a difference as to who starts the process first. I always start out with odd because then I start first, and it's an easy way to remember it. I'm odd, and we all know that probably by now. So if you start out with odd, I start first. You simply explain to them that you're going to point to 2 cards. They'll eliminate one of those 2. Then you'll have them point to 2, and you'll eliminate one of those. The process is simply you always point to 2 cards that aren't the one that says Gold Isuzu Trooper on it. And then, of course, no matter what one they eliminate, it makes no difference. When it comes to be Tiffany's turn, if she points to any 2 cards and it's not the one that says Gold Isuzu Trooper, then you can eliminate anyone you want. If she points to the Gold Isuzu Trooper, well, obviously what you do is you eliminate the other one. So it's just constantly eliminating all of the cards that are not the one you want the person to have, mixing them up in between. It looks very random and very haphazard. And finally you'll get down to the 1 card, and you put that one there, and you say, well, we've got 1 card here. I don't know why, but it just seemed like one of these cards was more special for you. And you say, you know, I told you I had this premonition about automotive or clothing or what you were going to eat for lunch today. And then you say, all of these cards we eliminated, black Jeep Cherokee, the tan Toyota Celica, the green Toyota, and then you go through them all, lay them on the table, and like I say, this can say chef salad, ham and cheese sandwich, omelet. You say, none of those you had for lunch, or none of those you drive. Why in the world did we get down to the 1 card that's the car that you drove here, or the thing that you ordered for lunch, or whatever? It's probably a much bigger surprise than it should be, but it does leave them a little fooled when they see this. And then you say, well, gee, I'm so glad that you drove that car today, and I hope we can do some business together, and they'll always remember that when they see that written on the back. Oh, yeah, that was that Larry Anderson. Well, he gave me that card. They'll remember you, believe me. Now, here's an interesting little phenomenon I've observed, and I've called this things that cling, and you'll see why in a minute. I've noticed if I can take any item that, well, like a fork, something long like that, and I put it in my hand, that when I open my hand like this, it just sort of clings to the hand like that, and I can't quite figure it out. Not too impressive? The thumb is kind of a bit of obvious. I think, you see, the thumb doesn't have anything to do with it at all. If you actually look at it, see it actually, it actually just hangs there. Now, I'm going to show you how this is done. Now, usually, someone does a magic trick, never shows anyone, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Okay. You see, it's interesting. When I turn it around like this, if you start to count the fingers down here, you'll notice that one's missing, but most people just assume they're all there. Betsy, why don't you give it a try, and you can see that all you have to do is hold it there. There you go. And now put your thumb up, and it works just like that. So the thing is, when people see that there's 4 fingers, they never really count to see that 5th one gets added on like that. You see, that's the part that throws them. But when you let go completely, that's another lesson for another time. Maybe I'll show you that.
That's great.
Well, this is what is commonly known as a sucker trick in the magic business, and maybe not too well named, but it kind of makes suckers out of the audience in the sense that you teach them a trick, or they think they know how something works, and then you come back with a double punch and fool them again. So they actually do get to learn a trick, but not all of it. And in this case, of course, you start out with the fork, and you say, you know, the interesting thing about this silverware, it has a strange magnetic property. And you put your hand here, just as the trick was, with your index finger here. And then you say, watch, when I open my fingers, it sticks to my hand. Of course, this is the first part of the sucker trick because nobody believes that. You're just clipping it with your thumb, but you're all ready to take over here with the index finger. And they go, oh, well, that's kind of lousy. So, oh, well, you don't like the fact that the thumb is there? And then, of course, you move the thumb out of the way and just push the fork over a little bit, and they see it clinging there. So that's the first part, and they go, oh, how do you do that? And so you've sort of suckered them into that already, and they say, here, I'll show you how it's done. And then you just turn your hand around like this, and you show them the finger holding the fork in there, and they, oh, that's really cool. So I say, oh, I'll tell you what, give it a try yourself. Now, this is what's called misdirection again coming into play, because you now have them all looking at Tiffany here as she does it, and while she's doing that, you're saying, that's really great. You're going down into your lap and picking up the knife that's been sitting there from the start. See, we're always one ahead of everybody here. I've got this sitting in my lap. Also, I'm wearing a watch. Now, in order to do this part of the trick, this extra part, you have to have a watch on. So now my arm is resting at the edge of the table. Here's the knife. I simply pick up the blade end of the knife and jam it right under my watch. You've got all the cover in the world because they're busy doing this, and probably everybody at the table is. So I've just jammed this underneath my watch band. Here's the hand going down into the lap, grabbing the knife, simply jamming it up underneath into position. Then when you pick up the fork, of course, you put it under. You have to be a little quiet there when you do that. And as you put it underneath like that, close your fingers, so that would hold, and from their point of view, they'd see you holding the fork. Then move this hand into position. You say, the clever thing is that sometimes I can do it by adding this next finger, and as soon as they now count 5 fingers, they're a little bit surprised. And then you take it off and say, yeah, that is kind of weird, isn't it? Can't quite figure it out myself. And you'll see them scratching their heads on this one. I've got an interesting little head scratcher for you. It works with a penny. A penny and 2 hands. Watch the hands, watch the penny. We'll see if we can make something magical happen. Penny, penny, and now.
Whoa.
2
All right.
Not bad.
All right, this is a great little impromptu trick that has a lot more going on than anyone imagines. When you show the penny like this, it appears that that's all you're holding, and it really does look that way. With the other hand there, it looks like everything's on the up and up, but let me show you something. I'm going to remove the penny. I want you to see what's hiding behind. There's the 2 quarters. Now what you do is you put the 2 quarters stacked on top of each other between the 2 fingers, and the penny hides it. It splits the penny right in the middle, so they should be dead center behind it. And then Of course, the key point of this is when you bring it up, it's all set in your hand, you're holding it like this, and say, hey, let me show you something with a penny, and you bring it right up to their eye level so that they're looking on the same plane as the quarters, and then they can't see them behind. Now, if you're showing this to more than one person at a time, they have to be fairly close to the same height, otherwise one person will be looking from below and the other above, and they'll see it. It's best done with just one person at a time. So you say, hey, look, I'll show you something with a penny. Nothing in my hand, nothing in this hand. Now watch, and here's the key move. These two fingers on the other hand, this left hand, are at 90-degree angles, right angles to this one, and it just comes in the thumb, rolls the penny right underneath and slides it right underneath the bottom quarter, and then his finger comes down and tips them right straight up like that. Now the penny is right behind this back quarter. So once the left hand now has the quarters, the right hand moves back in and takes the back quarter along with the penny and just separate the two coins like this. So I've got the penny now behind the quarter, and it looks quite miraculous, actually. Now, when you're doing this, I'm not showing you the backside. I'm simply moving my hands. It looks like I'm showing you more of the quarter than I am. And then I sometimes place it right in my palm. You have to be quite quiet with that. You just let it snap right in there like that, and then you can put the other quarter on top and show them in your palm. Penny, of course, being underneath the back quarter. Let you have a back angle view of that. Here's the two quarters stacked on top of each other. They're pinched here with just enough room to take the penny and add it right in there. So these are at right angles to each other. Now your viewer is looking at it now from here, and then you, after they see it, you've shown your hands, you turn your hands in towards yourself, the thumb goes and rotates that one right underneath and tips them up like that. Here's the penny behind the rear quarter, and then this hand comes back in and grabs those two and separates them. You show them, place it right down in your palm, and you can show the two quarters. And if you don't like the risk of making a noise with that penny when you put it in your palm, then just end the trick by showing them the coins like this. And of course, then you have to put them together and stick them in your pocket. Great trick. You'll really fool some people with this one. Hey, I'd like to try something, an experiment in the psychic sciences. There's a branch of the psychic sciences called telekinesis, and it has to do with actually moving objects without using any physical means, just purely through thought and intention. So I'm going to give that a try and see, well, actually, not just me, someone with me is going to give it a try, but I need an object, and I noticed, Steve, you were smoking earlier. Can I bum one of your smokes? Take a cigarette. And Carrie, would you help me with this?
Yeah,
All right, because I think when it comes to moving objects, nobody better than someone named Carrie. You saw the movie, you understand my joke. Carrie, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do, though. We're going to try and move the cigarette purely by thought and intention and channeling energy and see if we can muster energy flows into that cigarette and cause it to actually move or spin or something. What I'd like you to do is take your hands like I am now. Because when I look at you, I look at as you being a good puller of energy, someone that tracks good energy toward them, and I'm going to push the energy and see if we can't make this move. So actually try and draw that as we do this, okay? Now think and concentrate and channel energy. Wow! See that? Carrie, how did you do that? Because I don't think I could have done that alone. That was amazing. Let's try it again. See if we can go another direction. Here. Okay, just pull, Carrie. Whoa.
Carrie?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. One more time. Let's try another direction, okay? Yeah. Very well done. Whoa! Wow. Pretty cool?
That's awesome.
All right, then I'm going to let you keep that for souvenir, all right? Don't let me catch you smoking it, though, okay? Well, this is a very clever and very eerie effect when you see it done, and very spooky. I've seen people literally jump out of their seats when they see it done. What's great about it is that you're using someone else's help, so it takes some of the blame, if you will, for making the cigarette move off you, some of the heat, and puts it on them as well. And also for that person, they don't know what in the world they're doing to cause that cigarette to move. So the real secret is this. You make sure the person that you're enlisting their help, that their hands are held high. You say, you be high, I'll be low, and you kind of pull and I'll push, because the actual mechanics of making the cigarette move are so simple that it's simply the act of doing this. a slight breath like that causes the cigarette to roll. You're blowing on it. And the only reason it works is because you've got attention so riveted on the cigarette, and you've done so much story ahead of time about energy, and we're going to channel energy. And you say, now watch that cigarette really close. Everybody, come on, take a look. If you watch it close, you might see it move a little bit. So if it's a little bit, they're going to want to get close to see it move, and that puts all the attention here, and you keep yourself away from there, and it's just a real subtle. Now, you don't want to purse your lips like that. You got to learn to blow stream of air without changing your facial muscles very much. But again, you've got some latitude because everybody's looking here if you've done it right. And you start doing, say, I want you to push and pull and see if we can do anything. Move your hands, rotate them around a bit. Yeah, like that. See if you can pull that energy. Yeah. Right, and you get it rolling like that. You can actually change directions a bit as long as you're not vertical like that. Say, let's try this way, and then you'll be hitting it across like that with your air, but it'll still send it off in that direction. And you go, and you might even do it a third time. You don't want to do it more than 3 times. Okay, pull. Yeah. And usually if you're on a really hard, flat surface, one little burst of air will send it rolling, and then you can pretty much stop blowing. In any room that has any ambient sound, whether you're in a restaurant or room and there's people around, the sound of your breath will not be heard. If you're in a deadly quiet room, and where I am right now is deadly quiet, maybe you're hearing a little blow, but that's not typical because there'll be ambient sound in any room with any life in it, and that'll cover up any sound, but you don't want to be going like that either. It's just a slight breath that's going to cause it to roll. Again, the key to this is to focus the attention on the cigarette, and it'll really cause people to be alarmed sometimes if you really make this dramatic. Another note is you can do this in a version like at a McDonald's or a fast food place where they have straws. Drinking straws are great for this. Unwrap one of the straws, and they're nice and light, and they roll very nicely across the table, so you can do it in any restaurant where there be straws. You can even take if you have a very light pen or marker or something that's perfectly round. Obviously, you need a completely round surface. Anything with any edges or facets on it aren't going to roll. It has to be able to roll and roll rather easily. And of course, the tabletop, whatever the surface. If you've got a tablecloth on a table and it's not a very, if it's a kind of thick, fibery one, it's not going to roll, so it won't be successful. The flatter the surface is and the harder the surface is attributes to the success of it. So practice it on different surfaces and know what your limitations are. And that's pretty much it. I know you'll blow some minds with it. Give it a try and just practice learning how to blow. And also the angle. There's one other thing. Make sure you learn where the angle of your breath is going, and the only way you can do that is by trial and error. You can hold your hand and go, oh, I'm blowing too high, I'm blowing over the cigarette, or I'm blowing too low, and it's just bouncing up like that. You'll get the right angle. And then also, you don't need to, once you get it moving, you don't need to be following it and continuing blowing it. In fact, if you can keep your body in the same position, it sells it a little better, so you're not going, because then when your body moves with the cigarette, it tells them, oh, his body is psychologically somehow having to do with that. So you can just stay back here, and you're doing this, and and only the cigarette moves. So if your body stays back here, then it doesn't tie in with the motion of the cigarette. There you go. Enjoy it. You know, the easiest way to get this coin into this glass would probably be just to toss it in like that, right? Right. Of course, I could make it more difficult on myself by putting some space between these. In fact, if I were to put this underneath the table like this, I'd have to take the coin the long way and then drop it into the glass like that, right? Maybe there's a shortcut between the two, perhaps right through the center of the table. Let's watch. Glass will go underneath, and we'll cover the coin and just rub it and see if we can't make it go right through.
Oh, okay. That's neat.
Thanks. This is an interesting trick because it again uses audio to help sell the trick. The vanish of the coin from the top of the table through the table is actually very cleverly done by the way that you're brushing the coin. You're actually giving the appearance of just brushing it in circles when in fact you're not. You're actually working the coin underneath your hand to the edge of the table. I'll show you how that works. But first, of course, you're going to catch it in the glass. So you explain, I'm going to place the glass below the table to catch the coin as it goes through. Now there's a little bit of psychological deception here because you're looking as though you're putting it way underneath the table. What's happening is I'm putting my arm under the table, bending at the elbow and bending at the wrist, and bringing the glass right back to the edge of the table. So it's literally right here at the edge of the table, although it looks like I'm reaching way underneath. So here's the glass. So what happens now is you line up the coin so the heel of your hand is right at the edge of the table, put your fingers over the top, and you start to move it, and you'll see where it is already, way here at the edge of the table. All I'm doing is I'm basically, on the downstroke of the circle, I'm brushing it back, then I'm raising my fingers enough to not bring it back. So the coin's not going around like that. It's only making about a half a circle, and then I'm letting up on it. Then I make another half a circle, and it goes back even further. So it's really just working its way to the edge of the table. Okay, here's my hand going under the table now and working its way back to the edge. Coin is under the hand, works its way down, right into the glass, then straighten the hand out and bring it forward for your applause. You want to always have the attention at the tips of the fingers because that's where you're trying to make the people who are watching this think that the coin is, right at the tips of the fingers. So even your eye is looking at the tips of your fingers as you're doing this. All the time, of course, you know it's moving back and creeping its way to the edge of the table toward the glass. And once it goes into the glass, same thing happens with the glass. You now straighten your arm out and bring the glass as though it's come way from at least this part of the table underneath, not right here at the edge. Of course, it's critical not to have people sitting right next to you. Most of these table tricks, especially when you're using things falling into your lap, all have to be done with people far enough to your sides that they don't get a view of the edge of the table and your lap. Otherwise, there's certainly no magic trick happening. So be aware of your angles on doing these tricks as well. Some of them you'll see as we go along on the tape. It makes no difference. You can do them surrounded, but not this one. Now here's a little puzzler with some wooden matches. Now everybody knows that wooden matches are made of solid wood, of course, and they can't penetrate through each other. But an interesting thing happens if you tap them once, twice, 3 times like that, they go right through. I don't know how that worked, but it just happens. Or you turn them like this and it still happens. You turn them like that and it still happens. And I'm not going to try and figure it out. I just leave it at that. Well, if you've heard the old expression, spit and polish, the secret to this is spit and sulfur. A little bit of saliva and a little bit of sulfur makes this happen. Of course, the sulfur comes from the head of the match. Any wooden match has, of course, the sulfur tip on it. And when you wet either your thumb or actually get the end of the match wet, you push it into the pad of your thumb and apply some pressure for about anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds. The sulfur kind of dissolves and forms like a little glue so that you can do this. See how it sticks to your thumb like that? You'll have to try this one out, get some matches, and once you've figured out how much spit and how much pressure and how much time it takes to make that happen in your fingers, you're all ready to do the trick. So you get the matches, and I use my right hand, and I put the sulfur tip against my thumb because the hand or the finger that you want to release is the index finger, and that's the one closest to the person viewing the trick. Because if you look at it, I'm going to point this right to camera now, you don't see the lifting of this finger as much from the front as you would if I were lifting my thumb from back here. You'd see the thumb separate from the match. So the actual illusion now happens in the movement of the matches. You click them together once, twice, and then you simply lift this like this, allowing the stick to, or the matchstick to go through, and then you pull them on and prove that they're solid again. Watch, just like that. Okay, click once, click twice, and on the third pass, just raise the finger and then knock them together. And then you can twist them a little bit and show the other side. As long as you keep this finger, that's the one that's doing all the work. Keep that, whether you're showing it this angle or you're showing it this angle and approaching it from this side, you just keep that finger kind of in the direction of the person watching it, and they won't see it. It's actually just like jumping rope. If you watch somebody jump rope that was very fast, you wouldn't see the feet hardly imperceptibly going off the ground because that rope is just passing underneath. And just the body knows just when to jump. Same thing happens when you click, you know just when to lift your finger. I will say, though, that you want to have the match that's going to pass through close to the finger. It shouldn't be right in the middle of the matches. It should be starting to get close on the 2 clicks, once, twice, and on the 3rd click it moves close to the finger so it doesn't you don't have to open your fingers that far to allow the match to pass through. Sometimes you can just lift that thing almost imperceptibly, and they penetrate each other. So that's the linking matches. Great trick. You know, I'm getting a little hungry, and I'm watching these rolls. They're looking pretty appetizing. I tell you what, I'm going to try something here. We're just going to cover them up with my napkin like this and see if we can't make something happen. Watch. Whoa! I think I got one. Oh, boy, this is some light flour. Look at that. Woohoo! Yeah, I'm getting a rise out of this trick. Oh, my gosh, look at, oh, there it is on top. Oh, goodness, look out! Oh, we better move this thing. Oh, geez, look at, uh-oh, now it wants to go down here. Oh. Oh. Whew. I was getting scared there for a minute. This is some dangerous dough, I tell you.
Yeah.
All right, this trick is a real kick, and everybody enjoys it. It's a lot of fun. And the secret is, actually, it's all in your lap. When you pick up your napkin and you go to cover up the basket of rolls, I should let you see what's behind here, and that is a fork. So I'm clipping the fork and the napkin like this, and as I go into the dinner rolls, I'm simply jabbing one of the dinner rolls, and the more subtly that you can do it, the better. So you say, hey, look, we'll just take this and we'll just set it down like that, and I've just jammed that into the rolls. Now, obviously, they have to be fairly soft. If you got some of those really hard rolls, it's not going to work, so you have to actually examine the rolls ahead of time. Now, the fork is actually right here. You can see it's jammed into the roll. I'll give you a look as though I was holding the handkerchief now. I pick that up and I say, hey, watch, let's cover this up like this, and I just stick it in like that. So now you've got the handkerchief sitting like this, and then I actually switch the positions of my hands so the fingers are underneath. That allows me to lever this up like that. You can still do it this way, but it's kind of contorts your elbows to get it to go that way. So after I've jabbed it, I just go like this and say, watch, you can blow on it if you like, or just go right straight up like that, and you're simply just carrying it around like that, and it looks like it's floating, and you know, and make it come alive as though you're reacting to it. Whoa, like that, and it's pulling you. The whole illusion to selling this thing is that it's pulling you and coming back at you like this. You have to watch your angles a little bit. The fork is pretty well covered even from behind, so it's out there floating around like this, and then you can, I'll give you a back view here, you can bring the roll up to the top of the handkerchief. Just watch the fork. I'm looking right here to make sure that the fork is covered by the handkerchief, and you don't let anyone glimpse it. So you can only bring the roll up as high as the fork is covered with the handkerchief, and let them see a peek of it from the front. Say, oh, there it is right there peeking over the top. And let it pull you along, and then just drop it back down. And this whole action is really great when it goes from this position straight up like that and carries you around. Now I'll show you the finish of this thing is you can actually let go with the hand that doesn't have the fork and reach up on top and grab the bun like that. Say, boy, this thing's, and then you can actually let go of the fork. This thing is crazy. That's when I move the basket out, reach back underneath and grab the fork again, and then grab the other end and just proceed. And then I let it scoot across the table. And as I come back, I'm dragging it with the fork, and as you start bringing it back, put your hand right between the fork. I'll show you now. The fork's here, the bun is here. Underneath the handkerchief, I'm putting my thumb right here, and I'm pulling the fork out. That reveals the bun, and of course the fork now is right over my lap. You can simply drop the hand right into your lap like that and go, oh, whew, boy, I was getting nervous there for a while. That's some pretty wild bread rolls. Hey, here's something the government doesn't want you to know about.
All right.
About 3 feet in front of every single person, right out in the middle of space, is a little hole about that big that leads right from there, right into the U.S. Mint. And all you have to do is reach into the little hole and ooh, I missed it. Let's try it again. Ooh, yeah, there's a point. And there's another one.
Oh my gosh.
And that really is fresh. You can still smell the mint. I'll keep those. Well, this is a great impromptu trick that really causes some attention because it deals with money. Now, I use half dollars. They're just big and they're visual. If you have smaller hands, you can do it with quarters. But if you can get a hold of a couple $50, they're great for any of the coin tricks we have on the videos here. And this one works simply by putting the coins, just like people always say about magicians, it must be up his sleeve. Well, in this case, that's true. You can either drop them in the sleeves from this direction, or if you want to be a little bit more clever about it, if you're sitting around with people, you can get them out of your pocket and drop it down the armhole, and then it'll work its way right down to the elbow. Now, you're kind of stuck in this position until you're ready to perform the trick. And you say, but you're still quite a freedom of movement. So you can say, hey, let me show you something, and then you're into the trick. The way you get the coins in your hand from here is you drop your arm, it just shoots right into your fingers. Now, the actual way that you perform the trick requires a little bit of timing, and it's just something you can work out a couple of times in front of a mirror and you'll get it. Watch, here's how it goes. You start out saying, hey, let me show you something. Do you know that there's this little hole out in space here? Now, you're gesturing with one of your hands, whichever you're more comfortable starting with. And there's a little hole, goes right from there into the Denver Mint. Now watch. And all I'm doing at this point is I'm constantly reinforcing my hands are empty by gesturing, so they don't think you had them in your hand. It's at the start. You say, watch. All you have to do is you reach out and you know, just like you see right there, you see a coin floating in space. You reach out and you grab it. Now, as you go to grab it, you notice what happened with my left hand. It went down to get the coin. So that movement happens as you grab and say, oh, doggone it, I didn't get anything. I must have missed. So then you reach up with this hand, and same thing happens. As this hand goes up, this hand drops to your side, the right hand gets the next coin. You go, wow! And you simply move it from your fingers. Just slide it up with your thumb right up to the tips of your fingers. Doesn't have to look very clever or anything like that. You're just reaching in the hole and grabbing a coin. Say, wow, and then appreciate that for a second. Say, let's try for another one. You bring your hand up and just work it to the tips of your fingers like that. And you've produced 2 coins. And it's really quite magical. So again, the whole thing is timing. I'm going to show you from behind a little bit how that happens. Now remember, with not a long sleeve shirt on, these are going to drop very fast into the cups of my hand. So watch. I'll show you. My right hand is reaching out to grab the first invisible coin, and that's when the coin drops here into my left fingers. And say, well, gee, I didn't get anything here. Let's try out here. And then I grab the next coin as it drops into my right fingers, ready to reach up and grab it. So that's basically how you do it. It takes a little bit of practicing of, it's almost like swimming or cross-country skiing. As the one hand goes forward, this one drops, and then the next one goes forward, and the other hand drops, and you've produced 2 coins out of thin air. I'm going to try a little something. Betsy, we've got a sugar container there. Would you take out one of each of those varieties of sweeteners? Actually, some are sugar and some are artificial. There's the pink, and there's the blue, and there's the white, and now we've come out with brown. I haven't quite figured that out. I'd like you to have a choice of whichever you like. So which one do you want to use, and the others we'll get rid of?
Okay, I'll take the brown.
Oh, the natural stuff. Okay, so we'll get rid of these. I also have a quarter, and I'd like you to take this permanent marking pen and put a mark on that quarter so we'll know it's your quarter, and we'll always keep track of it. You can cap the pen. She's placed a nice B right across. Is that B for Betsy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, of course. What else? Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take the sugar packet and the quarter in the hand. The object is to make something happen. Betsy, would you squeeze my hand as tight as you can? Fuse the 2 together. If something happens, won't this be wonderful? Let go. They fused.
It's inside then?
Well, who knows?
No.
Let's take a look. We'll open the sugar packet. Can I have your hand, Betsy? Would you open that or look at that?
Wow, this is good.
Is that your mark?
Oh my God.
This is good.
Where do they get such talent at these prices? I'll never know. This trick is just, will really knock them dead if done correctly, and I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing you do, of course, is you get a coin. It's always best if you can borrow a coin. You want to make it a quarter if possible because it's bigger and it is more visual. But it'll work with a nickel as well. I wouldn't do it with anything smaller. And then some sugar. If you're in a restaurant, all this stuff is available, of course, and you have the person take out as many varieties as there are. It makes no difference. The more the merrier. In this case, we have 4, pretty much the standards you find nowadays. And it's very important now to have the coin marked. I mean, this trick is not anywhere near the miracle it is if the coin isn't marked, because they'll never believe it's the same coin that appeared inside the sugar packet. That means that you need a little preparation in that you need to have a permanent marking pen, one of these laundry markers, or they sell these in the stationery stores. Everybody has them nowadays. And then you have the person mark the coin, and you tell them you simply want them to be able to verify that this is the exact same coin at the end of the trick as the one we started with. Of course, don't tell them what's going to happen. Thank you. Tiffany's placed a nice big T across that coin. Then you say, I'd like to eliminate all but one of those packets of sweetener. So, Tiffany, you have an absolutely free choice. Which one do you want to use? They choose one of them, you get rid of the others, and here's what happens. We use the ultimate utility move. Again, here's it comes into play. It's not a trick in itself, but it sure makes this trick work. So what you're going to do is, it actually has a great conditioning in this one, in that you're going to condition the people to believe that this action of picking something off the table is legitimate simply because you're going to do it for real with the sugar pack. So you say, watch, we're going to take the sugar pack and the coin, place them in this hand. Now, of course, the coin never went in. And it's a great conditioning process when you pick up that sugar packet and you simply drop it in your hand and then let the coin go right off the edge of the table and just tap the sugar packet. It sounds just like you placed it in there. You have to time closing the hand when you do that, otherwise you'll do that and they'll say, hey, where'd the coin go? It never went in. So the closing of the hand is obviously very important to time it with placing the coin in there. You just tap it and it makes just enough sound to make people believe that the coin went in. And you say, now grab my hand and squeeze it as tight as you can and see if you can't fuse those two together. Now, while they're doing that, and you're just telling them to squeeze it, you can just let the hand drop to your lap. Don't shoot it under there because it'll cause suspicion, but just let it drop to your lap and say, yeah, squeeze it good and tight. At that point, you retrieve the coin. Now, again, almost every time I do the ultimate utility move and something goes in my lap, I have a napkin in my lap spread across my legs. And it makes a great catch-all for everything that goes into your lap. And it's very common to have that because you're sitting in a restaurant and you just spread it across your knees and everybody else has got it too. They just don't know they can do great magic with it. So you've got somebody squeezing your hand now and you say, great, squeeze it as tight as you can. The hand drops to the lap and gets the coin. And then you can say, okay, you're squeezing it tight? Great. Well, how can you explain this? Now your hand comes right back up. It's holding the coin right here in the cupped fingers and it's just resting on the table. And then you let that drop. They'll look for the coin and say, gee, it's not there. And let them drink that in for a minute, and then just pick up the packet just like you would, when you shake it, you're going to put it in your coffee. Shake it down like this, and then just bring it to the other hand, because you need the other hand to rip the top off, and lay it right on top of the coin. So you've got this kind of at the tips of the fingers, and you say, watch. Put it right on top of the coin. Now, they don't have to see your open fingers. I'm being a little more open than I would be. I'll say, watch, and I just put it right on the coin and rip the top of the packet open. Coin is right underneath the packet here, and say, hold out your hand, and now you just take these fingers and lever up. I'm taking the coin with it. Lever this up, and as you pour it, you just let it drop from behind the packet into their hand. Okay, so the hand drops into the lap. It just grabs the coin, just lets it rest in the fingers, and then works its way back to the top of the table as the sugar packet is dropped. And then you shake this, and then simply put it on top like that. And it's covering the coin. Now, they can be looking from this side. They don't have to see into your hand. And just use your thumb to rip the sugar packet off. And then grab them both. And as you grab them, just grab them both and tip it up like so. So you see that coin is behind and then just drops out as you pour it into their hand. And that's the way it works. And just look smug and let them look at that and try and figure it out.
Jaw droppers, yeah.